Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Intentional Living Podcast. I'm Marty Keller, and I'm joined by my friend and colleague and mentor, John Donovan. Hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Good to be here
Good. Yeah,
again.
always good. It seems like just yesterday.
Yeah.
So, this is the Intentional Living Podcast, where we focus on breaking patterns of behavior that I say I don't want and nonetheless continue to manifest. In this podcast, we examine and uncover unconscious obstacles to what we want. We learn to befriend them, to make them allies in manifesting the life we want to live consciously. So, this stems from fundamental questions that you like to ask, John. Have you ever hurt someone you loved and later regretted it and then hurt them again, usually in the
hmm
same way?
hmm
Have you ever realized in the middle of an argument with someone that you were on the wrong side of it and continued to take that side anyway? Or have you ever known that you were about to do or say something that you would regret? Maybe even hearing that little voice saying, "Don't say that." And yet you found yourself unable or unwilling to stop. Those are just examples of the kinds of behaviors that we talk about, compulsive behaviors that we are looking at learning to understand and befriend in order to create something different. And so that's what we do here in the Intentional Living Podcast. And as you know, John, you and I have, for the past 3 or 4 months, been taking a look at the principles. These are a series of thoughts, affirmations, insights that we have about some of the fundamentals of what life is like in the intentional living world and what
Yeah.
things can guide us to help understand what we're doing or practice the practices.
Correct.
And I'm going to bring them up on the screen so that particularly newcomers can see what we're talking about and just do a quick review of where we've been. So we've already looked at these principles. I'm always getting what I want. It's never about the other person. The issue is not the issue. People treat me the way I want them to. The quality of my life is determined by the focus of my attention. Life happens for me, not to me. What I resist persists. Hurt people. And someone came up with a variant of that one, John. She said, "Hurt parents hurt children,"
Oh, hell yeah.
which I thought was illustrative. I don't know if we probably made that point on the podcast, but it makes that explicit.
Right.
The world outside of me is but a reflection of the world inside me. Life is lived from the inside out. One of your favorites. It doesn't have to make sense. And the last two we actually did two podcasts on this, to split it up into two parts. Trust the body.
Yeah.
Um, so before we move on to the next one, no blame, no judgment. Any comments or thoughts that you'd like to share about any of these things or anything that's on your mind before we start?
In my mind, they all blend into each other. So
Yep.
the next one is going to have the same qualities as what we talked about before, because it's all internal. I manifest from my subconscious experience, from my held memory. And I'm manifesting from that right now, even after 27 years of doing the accountability process, 37 years of recovery. I'm manifesting from the accumulation of my experience, 9/10 of it being subconscious. So I simply pay attention in the moment. And these principles help me to sort out what's really going on, to find out if I'm responding to something from my past that's unresolved, or actually being able to be present in the present moment with whoever, whatever the event is, and am acting proactively for my own well-being. So
Yeah,
just
I I I, I totally get and agree with you that all of these things are related to each other. They blend together. You could even consider picture it as a picture of it, picture a diamond, and each one of these is a facet of the
there you
diamond.
go. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
And they all fit, and neither one is better than the other.
Correct.
They're just all parts of ways to help us. See, I said to help us understand, and I guess I always like to tread carefully over things like mental understanding because there's only a limit to what that can offer us. In fact, there's one of the newer principles that we'll get to toward the end here. It says the answer is not the answer, and that has to do that has to do in part with mental conclusions. So I said this also helps us with our practice because
Yeah.
for me, it's the practice that makes the difference. It's the practice that opens up the possibility of looking at my behaviors, looking at the little voice in my head, looking at my feelings, and deciding what to do with them. And it takes, as you were saying, it takes pulling those so much of that lives in our subconscious mind and pulling it into the light of our conscious mind and taking a look at them and making some conscious decisions about what we want,
Hmm.
and then formalizing that through the statement of an intention. I intend to be at peace. I intend to love myself just the way I am, et cetera, et cetera. So um, these aren't just things that can help us with formal understanding. They can also help us with our practice. And so, with that in mind, how does no blame, no judgment help us with our practice? This principle here.
Oh, let's change that to blame-free and judgment-free.
Okay. Why?
If you don't mind, because
You don't like the
um,
word no.
well, no, no, the universe doesn't hear the word no. It hears frequency. So the if I say I don't want judgment, I get judgment. If I say judgment free, then the universe hears that free of judgment. Okay, so just I had on my board for many years, no blame, no judgment. And one day, as I was doing it, and somebody, said, "Well, what about the negative? You tell me not to say I don't want to be mean. Um, if you don't want to be mean, what do you want to be?" And I thought, "Oh, that makes sense. Thank you, thank you." So yeah, blame free, judgment free. Um, in my family of origin, in my socialization process, necessarily I learned cues in a healthy socialization process. I had to learn about 10,000 different cues that were cultural in the culture I was raised in my family. So the child is in a theta or hypnotic state, so that this massive amount of information they need to navigate in a healthy, um, concerned way is necessary that the child be a sponge. Okay. In my family of origin, my father was an alcoholic, um, and my mother was, I want to say, a flaming codependent. So I learned cues um, about how to pay attention to what's going on outside of me and control it or be what do you call it? We're hyper vigilant about these nuances that are I want to offer extra cultural that I needed to know to be safe around my parents, and not just parents, aunts, uncles, siblings, teachers, um, neighbors. Okay, um, and they were on the judgmental side. I got the message that my value was in direct proportion to what I could either produce or it was in direct proportion to my it was equal to my behavior. So I got my behavior or my value connected to my behavior or my value connected to what I could do that made me valuable. Instead of being told, I'm valuable beyond measure, these are some guidelines. Learning emotional regulation, learning how to tolerate frustration, impulse control, and delayed gratification. As children, we don't have any of those. So we're just like running around, pulling on things, and we a little
checking everything out.
checking everything out. And a 3-year-old in a little seat in a shopping cart, goes by this woman that's heavy set, and the child will say, "Oh, that woman's fat," and then of course there's no filter because they don't see that, and then they're chastised or told that's not polite, or however they're told, they get it that wasn't appropriate, and they need to be conscious about how they speak, which is confusing to a little kid. So we learn to judge and to make excuses or blame. For me to survive my childhood and to go into my preteens, teens, and adulthood, I learned that if something was wrong, somebody was to blame.
Right.
So I learned blame and judgment. And I lived in this hierarchical, categorical place where I had to fit in somewhere. And that caused my results were codependency, alcoholism, or some type of avoidant behavior. And what I mean by the avoidant behavior was I named them as rageaholic, workaholic. Okay, these are, and what I was avoiding was being in my emotional feeling body, because I wasn't mirrored how that works. I was mirrored to comply, be good, don't disturb, don't be a burden. How come you're always making me? Those kind of statements that made blame and judgment part of what I did, and I took it into my adulthood and found myself in some state of trying to avoid myself, which alcohol did really well. Codependency, my value was in how much I did for other people, or other people's value was more than mine, that kind of thing. So I'm going to bring up the board. I'm going to share screen.
Okay.
In this, what we call the accountability tree, let me get this out of the way. The first two statements underneath the tree is the blame-free judgment tree, and the arrow goes down to my truth. My truth is a statement of where I find the end result of family of origin dysfunction, traumatic childhood. My end result, again, was codependency, addiction, or some type of avoidant behavior. So in this process, I had to say the truth of where I found myself. And I was used to doing that, like I'm stupid, but it would be riddled with blame or riddled with judgment. So in this process of being accountable, and I learned this in the jail in my own violence cessation class, that if I owned the behavior without blame or judgment, I could feel the impact of that behavior. And for an example, violence, I was in a violence intervention class. So we define violence usually in a relationship situation, close relationship, like domestic, that anytime I would use language that dismissed, or I would simply ignore somebody, or I would reframe their reality, we learned that was a way of control or violence. So I had to say the truth. Saying the truth of where I'm at without this blame-free, judgment-free, just was another beat-up session.
Right.
Like I'm okay. Um, so in my violence cessation class, I would go in every week and be accountable for any emotional, verbal violence I did during the week. So I would check in and say, I was verbally violent to my partner by raising my voice in the conversation, which is threatening. And then I'd go into, it was my choice to be violent. It had nothing to do with her. And I'm practicing being a violent-free man. From that exercise, I put together this exercise, which I believe is more detailed. So when I said the truth of my behavior coming from unresolved complex post-traumatic stress, which we're calling childhood trauma, that truth resonated. I'm violent. In that was encoded the message in the violent-free, blame-free was a validation of what happened to me in my childhood. Now, in our subconscious memories, a lot of the trauma was pre-verbal or nonverbal. And what I mean by nonverbal, I could have been 10, 11, 12, articulate, but unable to express the pain or the hurt or the fracture or the discomfort. So that's what I mean by nonverbal. That feeling is stuck in my body in the form of a feeling tone. So when something happens in my current reality that resonates with that unresolved trauma, we call that a trigger, where I'm triggered and I react in what I'm owning is a violent way by being dismissive or ignore or redefine or raise my voice and threaten the person. And saying that truth was a healing process, just in itself, just by owning the behavior without judgment. And that's the key part. I could feel like when I was emotionally violent by dismissing my partner. When I said that, and nobody goes, "Oh, you dumbass! How come you did it? You said you wouldn't do all that stuff that I did to myself and we do to each other." The men in the group just simply heard me, and in that class, I would just say, "I'm practicing being a nonviolent man." In this process, what I've come to understand is that when I say that truth, blame-free, judgment-free, and take a breath, there's a resonance that happens that is healing what, I don't know, pre-verbal, nonverbal, things I've forgotten that are just held in the form of a frequency. So this creates frequency, and that's what emotion is a wave. If you do an EEG and they put all those things on your head, each one of those has a marker and it's got a little needle going. So that's emotion. That's a feeling tone that we can like put in real time and see with the needle going up and down that there's something there. Okay, I'm violent. Nice deep breath. There's something that validated that trauma that relieves it. And then I go in that feeling tone place of awareness, say, oh, I intend to be kind, or I intend to be gracious, or I intend to communicate in a cooperative way. Whatever it is I wanted to replace the truth of where I found myself, which was I'm violent. Oh my God. Oh, I intend to be cooperative. I intend to be loving. I intend to forgive myself. And I found that this process was healing and validating self or old trauma, pre-verbal, nonverbal, or things I've forgotten. And I found myself different, more aware, able to regulate my emotions, which simply for me, I just take a breath when I get startled, take a breath and orient to the noise. That's regulation. Before, a noise would happen and I'd go into or somebody would say something or somebody raise an eyebrow and I'd go into a reactive mode, fight, flight, freeze, please. Now with this healing process, in the context of blame-free, judgment-free, healing took place, and I manifest differently in alignment with my intents after this process. Um, uh, it shifts me. So, and what happens is my whatever the trauma was gets validated or relieved or heard or moved through. However we heal trauma in all those ways, I believe. And I'm able to stay present in the moment where before I would go into adrenaline rush, fight, fight, freeze, please, even though the event wasn't um, dangerous or actually physically threatening to my well-being. I would act as if somebody was attacking me or trying to cut me off at the knees or demeanor, whatever. I didn't have those words in my mind. Just so let's. I'm. Hopefully, you got a question or something because I. Judgment-free, blame-free. Of alcoholics, this process of simply saying the truth, blame-free, judgment-free, is an exercise in loving parent. Just like with my grandson, if he's saying, no, I don't want to go to the store, and he folds his arms and sits down, I can say, oh, I see you're frustrated, or I see you're angry, or I see you're disappointed, whatever's going on, and mirror for him his feelings so he understands he's in a feeling tone. And I don't blame him or judge him. Judgment would be punish, ridicule, tell him he's wrong, reframe his reality. I just say, oh, I see you're frustrated. And whatever the issue is, we're going to go to the store. So would you be willing to put your shoes on? No. I'm hearing you say no, and that you want to stay and do what you're doing, and we're going to go to the store. And he didn't hear things like I heard, like, who do you think you are? Who do you think you're talking to? You can't say that to me. You're disrespectful. None of that. He doesn't hear it. He doesn't hear any judgment or blame. He hears, he gets mirrored what I see is going on in him, whether he's frustrated or angry or resentful. He gets to understand that his reaction is appropriate for him, and then we move on. And he learns to regulate, and he learns frustration tolerance, impulse control, and delayed gratification in a blame-free, judgment-free environment that I can now provide for him because I provided it for myself. There you go. So
one of the things that going to the practical aspect of this, which you've been outlining through the application of the accountability tree, is to emphasize the words free. It's only in a place of freedom that I can make an uncoerced choice to do something different. So
yes.
So we talk about in this podcast, we talk about dealing with behaviors that feel like compulsion. So if I have, which all people who go through childhood trauma have, we have an addiction to blame and judgment.
Yes.
Because that's the that created the body chemistry that we grew up in, that we
Yep.
sponged, absorbed, as you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So I'm not free. A
No.
compulsion is a prison.
Yes.
I'm compelled to do something against my will, if I even knew I had will in that case. So for me, the power of this is not just um, the ability to, or the choice to look beyond or to ignore blame and judgment, which is what we practically do when we do this. Because as I've shared with you and on this podcast many times, the first time I went through exercises with you on this, I was acutely aware, as I was about to share something that I was ashamed to share
Correct.
or afraid to share, I was aware
Mhm.
of the voice in my head saying, "You idiot, don't do
Yep.
this." So,
There you go.
and so again, I took a chance. I can still remember the meeting. I took a chance to say, you know what, I'm going to lay this blame and criticism aside and take a chance and see
Okay.
what happens. So from a very practical perspective, I freed myself, and I remember saying, I can do this for 30 seconds. I could I can just set
Yeah.
this aside for the next, actually, 60 seconds. I'll set this
Right.
aside for the next 60 seconds.
Hmm.
And I remember I created that vacuum away from blame and judgment, which allowed me to feel safe
Yep.
to say whatever it was, whatever the truth was
Hmm.
that I was avoiding saying until my eyes got opened as to what was really going on through your facilitation.
Hmm.
So that you couldn't create that freedom for me. I had to do it.
Correct.
But you could coach me through it, which in essence, what you're doing with Solomon or anybody else is
Yeah.
you're mirroring for us the possibility of freedom from blame and judgment
Yes.
by not blaming or judging.
Hmm.
And not only not blaming or judging, but also not having the emotional resonance that blame and judgment come with.
Right.
So boom, free. What do I want? I'm now open to any and all possibility. Once I have eliminated, even for 60 seconds, the oppressive, addictive, emotional as energy that comes with blame and judgment, uh, I actually found myself stepping into a space that was like utterly unfamiliar.
Yes. And healing.
Yeah, well, that's what it was. That's
Yes.
why it was unfamiliar.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah. And it's the only word it's backwards. It's counterintuitive. In my recovery process before I got this thing, I'm trying to be a good person, so I would say affirming things. Well, I can do better, and it's like all that did was cover up
Yep.
the shame and guilt that, and maybe gave me a moment of respite of something, and then I went back to the
Well, it's
to
a
the behavior.
passive aggressive version of blame and judgment.
There you go. That's a good way to put it. Um,
And to
and
be to the newcomer, just to be honest with you, this is this addiction that our little wounded children have to blame and criticism and judgment is cunning, baffling, and difficult,
yes.
because it's again, it's the first thing that we encountered in our family of origin, in our environment. Remember what John said, we're like little sponges, so we're just absorbing that, and we don't
Hmm.
have any faculty to go, well, that shouldn't be happening,
No.
or forget it, I'll send
No
it back.
discernment.
We can't do
Zero
that.
discernment.
Exactly.
The discernment wasn't there. And even if it's energy held, and my father was alcoholic, um, and highly self-deprecating, just in his own mind, and holding that energy, we picked that frequency up and translate it. One of the things that I'm coming to understand, or coming to an awareness of how to articulate, that my capacity to pick up frequency, feeling, tone, other people's emotion, which is what theta is for an infant, is a learning process. So I'm in embodying information on a feeling tone frequency. So if my father was self-hating, self-loathing, I picked up that frequency and internalized it, and yet I had no words to like describe it. And then when I grew up and mimicked my father's behavior, I didn't know that's the message I got really quickly, and I got the message in utero from both my father and my mother, and we don't know the stress or the turmoil they were in or where they were when that happened, and I absorbed it. And then an event happens in my current reality. Say I'm 76 now, but say I'm 50 years old, and an event happens that creates this energy that I pick up, and I read it and react before I'm consciously aware of it. And I'm going, yes, I'm a dumbass, or yes, I'm not okay, or even before I can consciously think about it. And then the behaviors that I found myself in, codependency, addiction, avoidant behaviors, and I'd like to describe one of those as rageaholic. I would find myself in this behavior and not have a reason, a logical explanation for it. So the only logical thing I could do was either blame them or judge myself. And I got stuck in this. Okay. And that's reasonable. Then I found this. Oh, if I say the truth, I'm okay. What are my truths based on what I'm saying about my father, his own self hate? I would say I hate myself. Now, that's crazy. Oh, come on, John. No, actually, that's the message inside, internal, on a feeling tone that manifests in addiction. It's like I'm killing myself here with this alcohol, and I know it, and I don't care, and I'm gonna do. It's like, all right, I hate myself. That encoded in that statement was the feeling tone that I absorbed as a child, and it simply said, yeah, I understand, I see you. Oh my God. And it released. I could feel it just slough off my body in the breath there. And that's the emotion. I don't even have to look for it to describe it. In fact, sometimes when I try to describe it, it takes away from it. I feel it. And in that frequency raised place, I say, I intend to love myself just the way I am. That goes back into my subconscious as a directive, just like I hate myself went in there as a directive, and I manifest differently. I manifest more in alignment with self-love. One of the manifestations of that, simply put, is the next time I notice a trigger, I take a conscious breath just to give myself a moment before I go into fight, flight, freeze, please, and then see what I want to do.
Literally giving ourselves breathing room.
Yeah, there you go. Literally, figuratively, um, healing. The healing was manifested. Like people say, what do I do now? Well, I don't know. Just pay attention to what's going on because something's going to be different. I know that. And me taking a breath when I would normally lurch or attack or run was different. And it was, oh my God, this is what I've been looking for, self-validation. Oh, okay. What I heard you just say concerns me. Can we talk about it? It's like, where did that come from? Oh, healing from letting go of the I hate myself. Well, I intend to love myself. I'm gonna like get some clarity here before I react or run away from you or understand what you're saying because it's to my benefit. And I am now more inclusive, where before with this unresolved trauma, I would exclude you or myself,
or both.
for safety reasons.
Right.
And I had no idea. I was doing it. Oh my God. So yeah, blame-free, judgment-free. Powerful, powerful. And
Well, I think,
another. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. Just so we're coming to the end of our time together. So go ahead.
Oh,
Because I was just saying, oh, there's a great way to end the podcast, but go ahead.
Okay. The blame-free, judgment-free, I can say that it's a space of unconditional attendance, unconditional love, acceptance. Oh, I just did that. Yes. Oh, that hurt. Oh, blame-free, judgment-free.
Freedom.
And there. Pick it up next time. I don't know what the next thing is, but I think it's close to this one.
The next one is healing is contagious.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you have to wait for till next week for that one, my friends. So thanks, John, for the insights about creating an inner space that's free of blame and judgment, and why that's so critical to the healing process, and to demystifying behaviors and creating a new something different for ourselves, as you put it.
Yep.
For those of you who are interested, we do this actual work in group, and there are 4 different accountability practice groups that meet every week. And information on how to join them, and they're all on Zoom. What information on the days and times and the Zoom addresses are at both the beginning and the end of this podcast. So please feel free to find one that works with your schedule and join us and ask questions, participate, and learn what these things all these principles that we've been talking about can mean for you creating the life that you consciously want to live.
Correct.
And with that, I say thank you very much, John, and we'll see
You're welcome, Marty.
We'll see you at the next one.
You got it.
Bye.
Thank